Did Celsius Holdings and PepsiCo just pull off the biggest trade the US energy drinks market has seen over the past decade? Maybe it's just me, but I instantly felt like the beverage industry version of ESPN analyst Adam Schefter reporting on a NFL trade when I started to read the press release titled Celsius Holdings and PepsiCo Strengthen Long-Term Strategic Partnership. Essentially, Celsius acquired the Rockstar Energy brand and $585 million in cash considerations in return for PepsiCo receiving newly issued convertible 5% preferred stock, an additional board of directors seat, and the Alani Nu DSD distribution rights. And before I share my comprehensive analysis and strategic commentary on this beverage industry news, because you know I have a lot of thoughts and have already shared many relevant thoughts in numerous pieces of previous content, I'd like to quickly reminisce about the all-time biggest trade within the energy drinks market. In August 2014, Monster Beverage Corporation and the Coca-Cola Company announced they'd entered into a definitive agreements for a long-term strategic partnership to accelerate growth for both companies in the fast-growing global energy drinks category. Monster Beverage Corporation acquired the entire energy drink brand portfolio, which included names like NOS and Full Throttle, from the Coca-Cola Company and received a $2.15 billion cash payment. In return, the Coca-Cola Company acquired the entire non-energy brand portfolio, which included names like Hansen's Natural Sodas and Peace Tea, from Monster Beverage Corporation and received 16.7% ownership interest. Additionally, key terms of their current distribution agreement, like contract length, geographical expansion, and categorical exclusivity, were amended. And speaking of amending distribution agreements, let's start there because this Celsius, PepsiCo, and Alani Nu DSD story began sometime in the second half of 2023 when co-owners of Alani Nu started exploring sale options, but really started to heat up when a distribution agreement revision happened between Celsius and PepsiCo, which I spoke about in a May 2024 content piece. Let's connect the dots to one of the greatest movies of all time, Goodfellas. Why was that referenced in both the introductory statement and YouTube thumbnail image? Well, there's this scene where Henry Hill, played by Ray Liotta, is talking about what it's like having Paulie as a business partner, eventually saying the famous line, "Fuck you, pay me." And if you read the recent 8K report about the amended PepsiCo and Celsius distribution deal, everything would make a lot of sense. In terms of how quickly it happened, Celsius smashed growth expectations, and that became an extra burden on the PepsiCo distribution system. So they wanted to be compensated for the perceived imbalance. And Celsius gave PepsiCo incentives on sales of Celsius with adjustments for promotions. In return, John Feldley likely asked for some extra non-compete coverage in the energy drink category. There's been some speculation that PepsiCo was interested in trying to unravel the mess of a structure that is Congo Brands, Alani Nu, and Prime, most likely to get a share of Alani Nu with their energy drinks. But it looks like that option is being put in the witness protection plan, at least for the near term. But then when the Celsius and Alani Nu deal was officially announced in February 2025, I quickly started shouting about this upcoming short-term reward versus long-term risk strategic roadmap decision involving Alani Nu distribution. And everyone knew the most obvious decision to optimize for a short-term reward was Celsius Holdings transitioning Alani Nu from its current piecemealed national, mostly independent DSD network to the PepsiCo system. In fact, a recent Goldman Sachs Beverage Bytes survey representing around 50 DSD distributors showed that 64% anticipated Celsius would move Alani Nu to PepsiCo or a different distribution network sooner or later. Yet, it's that question around timing that got me fired up. Alani Nu has been an absolute rocket ship brand over the last few years, which had been essentially built off the back of its current DSD distribution network. And despite most of those DSD distributors anticipating Celsius would eventually take Alani Nu away from them, almost all stated Alani Nu would still be a top priority, and they won't de-emphasize commercial activities. Why? In all honesty, even if these DSD distributors wanted to shake up what's on their trucks, there isn't any other like-for-like sized independent energy drink competitors currently available. So then, What's the rush internally at Celsius Holdings to fix what's not currently broken? Most of us really tap into public company strategy know that that question is stupid because it's always the short-term market expectations. Though from my very first content talking about the M&A announcement, I believe the best near-term strategic plan involved Alani Nu distribution network continuity because one, it would minimize platform key customer risk. Two, strengthen focus on other business integration elements. But three, lowers cannibalization risk significantly. And it's that last point around cannibalization risk, which in my opinion has become even more prominent after quickness of this distribution transition decision. While Celsius Holdings leadership has shared various data points since the acquisition that shows investors that Alani Nu is complementary and incremental to the Celsius brand in target audience and brand strategy, I think surveys wouldn't be able to replicate energy drink consumers understanding the same level of brand distinction. Also, after owning the Alani Nu brand for like 5 months, I'm not even sure most Celsius Holdings employees could effectively communicate the same level of brand distinction. But this reminds me of a major risk I detailed within a piece of October 2024 content involving KDP, Ghost, and C4. You might be thinking, aren't these two brands competitive and thus would cannibalize each other? Well, KDP's chief strategist, Justin Whitmore, seems to rightfully understand the high-level brand distinction, which is that consumers have bucketed C4 Energy into performance and Ghost into cool lifestyle. And that's great, but when we're talking about beverages, not supplements, this is a war still fought on the ground. And what I mean by that is that it revolves around actions like field sales and marketing, distribution, and customer and channel management. This is where dreams become reality and nightmares are hiding around every corner. It will come down to effective and clear communication from KDP Corporate and its field teams and effective and clear communication from these brands, so C4 and Ghost, to not only KDP Corporate, but KDP Field and their own field teams. Honestly, this is what would keep me up at night if I were either Doss Cunningham or Dan Lorenzo. And maybe you can see where this could become very problematic over time, as Celsius Holdings employees will need to be laser sharp in effectively communicating brand distinction to PepsiCo, a very large multi-layer bureaucratic beverage organization, or Celsius and Alani Nu will eventually become indistinguishable and cannibalization risk will rise significantly. On the other hand, Alani Nu being kept separate for the next 12 to 18 months would help Celsius Holdings minimize various short and long-term business risks, as it would provide employees with more time to better understand the brand distinction and sharpen communication across the value chain layers. However, just to reiterate the obvious counter-argument of the potential cannibalization risk, it's obvious that PepsiCo will put in a similar commercial playbook to the Celsius deal several years ago, thus be able to increase the brand's retail availability, especially by enhancing food service penetration and access to new channels. Additionally, and I hadn't mentioned this obvious benefit previously, but there would be strategic alignment and related cost synergies to PepsiCo handling distribution for both the Celsius brand and Alani Nu. Though another expected strategic alignment got unlocked when Celsius Holdings took ownership of the Rockstar Energy brand, making them PepsiCo's strategic energy drink captain. And that essentially means Celsius Holdings will have the opportunity to drive the strategic direction of a unified energy portfolio through seamless planogram design, SKU prioritization, and promotional execution. Nevertheless, the biggest question revolves around whether Rockstar Energy will be net additive or net subtractive to the Celsius Holdings portfolio. And maybe that sounds odd, especially considering Rockstar Energy generated around $650 million in trailing 12 months US retail sales, and its product strategy seems to generally attract incremental consumers. But since PepsiCo acquired Rockstar Energy 5.5 years ago, retail sales have fallen by about a third. And the legacy energy drink brand overall has struggled within today's more competitive and shifting categorical marketplace. So yes, the addition of Rockstar Energy to Celsius Holdings portfolio adds classic energy to complement its performance-forward and modern energy offerings. But at what cost? Celsius Holdings must successfully catch the Rockstar Energy proverbial falling knife. Additionally, Celsius Holdings must now reorient itself top to bottom around being a total energy portfolio and not a performance forward and modern energy portfolio that possesses this powerful challenger mindset. But based on the trade balance, or I guess perceived imbalance, between Celsius Holdings and PepsiCo, I'd assume long-term Rockstar Energy expectations were muted and would probably imply right-sizing efforts will happen relatively soon. In my opinion, Rockstar Energy is still valuable, but will require a more simplified and streamlined product portfolio architecture. Also, since energy drinks are marketed as lifestyle brands that offer beverages with a functional benefit of energy, brand distinction and authenticity matter a lot. To go one step further, energy drinks have become status symbols or basically aspirational mixtures representing lifestyle taste and identity by association. And while the Rockstar Energy brand was meaningful at one time, a refreshed brand strategy will be required to reestablish it. And then lastly, let's cover the energy drinks market implications. As mentioned in that original February 2025 content, when Celsius Holdings shifts Alani Nu into the PepsiCo system, it would create another round of the DSD musical chairs game within the energy drinks category. The most likely beneficiary will be Form Energy, as the Anheuser-Busch DSD network will default into greater emphasis placed on its first Form joint venture. Beyond that, Bucked Up is the next largest independent energy drink brand by tracked retail sales, though it has been trying to sell itself, and that future ownership question might be seen as a negative. Also, Rise might be an interesting partner to give additional opportunity, as the brand possesses multiple beverages across energy, protein, and modern soda. But then, does this mean more large-scale energy drinks market consolidation will happen soon? I just mentioned in another content piece recently that after the company separation, KDP will likely attempt a larger buyout of Nutrabolt to fix the misalignments that were caused by the Ghost acquisition, and honestly get more indirect exposure to Bloom Nutrition. And beyond any potential immaterial middle market deals happening, the only insane ideas left on the board currently revolves around what happens between the Coca-Cola company and Monster Beverage Corporation long term, and does Red Bull continue to stay independent? But that wildness is probably left for another day and another piece of content. Right now, all eyes will be on Celsius Holdings and PepsiCo to see if this trade will become one for the record books or forever questioned by the beverage industry community. But I hope you enjoyed the first principles thinking that went into my latest YouTube video. If you did, can you do me a favor by hitting that like button? That quick and free action helps YouTube know my content is worth spreading to more people. Also, we're getting really close to reaching my next subscriber goal, and it would be great if you join me on this journey. But to do that, we need to fix the fact that slightly more than 3/4 of you that are watching this video right now are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, and that hurts my feelings. Regardless, I want to thank you for giving me some of your attention and time, and I'll see you on the next one.